Hello there, my name is Dexter and I welcome you once again to our series. Today we shall continue our discussion by looking at the fourth guideline. Avoid word crowding on your slides. Right? By default, PowerPoint provides you a guide on how to manage content on your slide. If you look at this on your screen, you can see that the margins on the sides of your slide have been provided. These margins are intended to help you make use of the center of your slide without overshooting. Now, for us to manage our slide, for us not to crowd our slide with necessary but clumsy content. Remember, we must have the first rule where we were asked to always summarize our content. Let's assume that we've summarized the content and now it's time to place it on our slide. And we have opened our slide, PowerPoint slide, and this is what we see. What do we do? Now look at this. The title box and the content box have been placed on this place, on the slide. This is to help you. Now, how does it help you? For you to manage your slides very well, you will have to consider number of words per line and number of lines per slide, and as well the font size. If you look at this, you can see that by default the font size is size 18 and font type is Calibri. Size 18 is let me show you what size 18 looks like. I want to leave this content and place here. Oh no, sorry, that was not what I wanted to take. I want to leave this and place it here. This is size 28 itself, not even 18. Okay, now let's show you what size 18, font size 18 looks like. This is it. This is font size 18. You can see that it's very tiny compared to what you want to achieve. You want to edit your presentation such that your audience, even from a distance, can see what you have done or what you're presenting. But this does not serve that purpose. Now, we are asking you to maximize the use of this space by increasing your font size while you remain guided by the fact that you must apply what we call the 7x7 rule or the 8x8 rule. And what does that mean? The rule is actually suggesting that you have 7 words across a line and 7 lines down the slide, or 8 words across and 8 lines down the slide. When you do that, you're going to see that the content you're going to place on your PowerPoint slide will be controlled and beautiful. Now look at this. This is font size 66, and you notice that the margins on all the sides of the slide have been maintained. In fact, I actually increased the margins more than what PowerPoint provides. Look at this place. The top margin here is narrower than, look at this bottom margin, while the side margins are wider. Please note that I am using widescreen resolution, that is the design. If you change your design to the standard design 4x3, these margins would change. Okay, now look at this second slide. This is part of the same content I have provided in the previous slide. Now look at this title, the introduction. This is font size 88, and the content below it is font size 44. which is half of this. What have I done? Applied another rule that the size of your title should be about 100% larger than the size of your content. This is just a basic rule. It does not mean it is not a cast on stone. You can play around it and see what you obtain when you try some of these things. But pay attention to this content. I have 6 words across the line and 7 lines down the slide, and this is almost perfect. Okay, now if we increase this font more, of course the number of words per line will reduce, and the number of lines on the slide will also be reduced. But the question is, what we have now on the screen, does it serve our purpose? You can notice that I used a sans serif font. The sans serif font is devoid. It doesn't have any unnecessary decorations on the letters. If you see the letter T, you will know it is T. If you see the letter R, you know it is R. There are no decorations that will introduce ambiguity and create uncertainty and level of confusion in your presentation. Another thing we also consider when managing our slide environment is the lines. The line spacing. Now this is by default. I used the single line spacing as provided by the application, right? Then also another thing we look at is the character spacing. I also left this at normal spacing as provided. There are instances where you will need to increase the character spacing. For instance, in this introduction, let's loosen it up a bit. See, I've increased the space between the characters. It's just for aesthetics, makes it more beautiful and more appealing, right? Now, if you do the same thing in the content, look at what we have. Creates some distortion. Reading is a little bit more difficult now because you find it difficult to differentiate one word from the other on the lines, right? So I don't advise you to space your characters in your content, but you can do so in the title like we did here. Another thing is to make this title bold. Okay, make it bold. You can play with colors. Remember what we looked at when we discussed color contrasting and all that. You can introduce some colors here. This is not beautiful. Why? Because the contrast, the distance between white, the background, and this orange, the foreground, is not too wonderful. So legibility is reduced. You find it more difficult reading this. Okay, what we do, since our background is white, that is brightest of colors, we will look for a darker color for our foreground. Any color that will give us a sharper contrast. Okay, this is manageable. Sometimes I play around. I try to add some beauty to. This is just me playing anyway. But the most important thing is that you have to stick to the rule: number of words per line and number of lines per slide. Stick to that rule. If you stick to the rule, you're going to be guided such that the final job you're going to come out with, the final work you're going to produce, will be appealing and beautiful. Remember, maintain the margins. Notice these margins, do not shoot beyond them. In fact, instead of going beyond the margins, you can actually go below them. You can actually decide to come down here, move your title away from the edge of the slide. It enhances the aesthetics of your work. All right. And another thing, check the lines. Check the line spacing for your content. And that's it. Thank you for joining me once again today. And the next discussion we shall be looking at rule number 5, guideline 5. Until then, thank you and have a very beautiful practicing exercise.